In the 1980s, one man smuggled 4 hippos into Colombia for his private zoo. He is long dead. The hippos are not. Today, there are more than 160 of them, loose in a river system they were never meant to touch, and the number is climbing every year. They are the largest invasive animal on the planet. They have no natural predator on an entire continent, and a court has ruled they are legally people. Nobody can agree on what to do with them, and every year they wait, there are more. So how did a dead drug lord leave behind an unkillable herd, and why can no one stop it? The answer begins with the richest criminal in history, and 4 animals he should never have owned. December 2nd, 1993. A rooftop in Medellin, Colombia. Police finally corner Pablo Escobar, the man who ran the Medellin cartel, and the gunfire ends a manhunt that consumed a nation. At the height of his power, Escobar controlled most of the cocaine entering the United States, and his personal fortune was measured in billions. With that money, he built a private empire in the countryside, a sprawling estate called Hacienda Nápoles. Nápoles was not just a mansion. Escobar built his own zoo. He imported giraffes, elephants, zebras, exotic birds, and, almost as an afterthought, 4 hippos. 3 females and 1 male, shipped from a zoo in the United States to the Colombian lowlands. To Escobar, they were a trophy. Nobody thought further ahead than that. When Escobar was killed, the estate was seized and eventually abandoned. Most of the animals were relocated to real zoos. But the hippos were a problem. They were enormous, aggressive, and already sitting in a private lake. Moving a hippo is dangerous and expensive. So the authorities made a quiet decision that would echo for decades. They left them. The hippos stayed in the lake at Nápoles, and with no one managing them, they did the one thing nobody planned for. They bred. Here is why that mattered so much. Colombia, it turns out, is close to a perfect home for a hippo. In Africa, hippo populations are held in check by long dry seasons that shrink the rivers, by droughts, and by the simple fact that Africa is where hippos evolved, alongside predators and disease that keep them in balance. Colombia has none of that. The water is warm all year, the rivers never dry out, food is endless, and there is no lion, no crocodile large enough, no drought, and no disease that hunts them. For a hippo, it was paradise with the brakes removed. In Africa, a female hippo typically starts breeding around age 7 or 9. In Colombia, with endless food and no stress, they began reproducing as young as 3. A population that should have grown slowly, instead doubled roughly every few years. 4 hippos became dozens. Dozens became scores. And they did not stay in Escobar's lake. Hippos need water, and Colombia gave them a highway of it. They pushed out of Hacienda Nápoles and into the Magdalena River, the largest and most important river in the country, a waterway that millions of people depend on. From there they spread. Fishermen began reporting them miles from the estate. Animals that had started as a rich man's toys were now wild residents of one of Colombia's great rivers. By the 2020s, scientists estimated the population had passed 160 animals, and some models warned that without intervention, it could reach the thousands within a few decades. Now the damage began to show. A hippo is not a gentle giant. It is one of the most dangerous large animals alive, responsible for many human deaths across Africa every year. In Colombia, encounters started to turn frightening. Fishermen were charged. A man was seriously injured. Communities that had lived beside the river for generations suddenly had to think about where the hippos were before they went to the water. The environmental damage was quieter but deeper. Hippos eat enormous amounts of vegetation and release it back into the water as waste, and that flood of nutrients changes the chemistry of a river. It fuels algae, starves the water of oxygen, and threatens the native fish, turtles, and manatees that were there first. A single introduced species was beginning to reshape an entire ecosystem that had no defense against it. So why not simply remove them? This is where the story becomes a genuine knot, and there is no clean thread to pull. The first obvious answer is to cull them, to reduce the herd the way any other dangerous invasive species would be managed. In 2009, after a hippo named Pepe escaped and roamed the countryside, soldiers tracked and killed him. And the public response was fury. Photographs of the dead hippos spread across Colombia and the world, and people were outraged. The hippos, strangely, had become beloved, Tourists came to see them. Local towns embraced them as unofficial mascots. Killing them became politically toxic. The second answer is to sterilize them. But sterilizing a hippo is brutally difficult. The animal is huge, aggressive, and lives in water. Each surgical castration is expensive, dangerous for the veterinarians, and slow. Teams can process only a small number each year, far fewer than the population adds in the same time. They are, in effect, trying to bail out a boat that is filling faster than they can scoop. The third answer is to capture and ship them abroad, to sanctuaries in other countries. A few have been moved this way, but relocating a 2-ton animal across the world is enormously costly, and there are nowhere near enough willing sanctuaries to absorb a herd that keeps growing. And then the story took a turn almost no one predicted. In 2022, in a legal effort tied to their protection, a United States court recognized the Colombian hippos as legal persons, as interested parties with rights, the first animals in the country to be granted that status in such a case. It was a symbolic ruling with no power over Colombian law, but it captured the strange truth of the situation. These were no longer just animals. They had become a legal, political, and emotional problem with no version that made everyone happy. Colombia's government eventually declared the hippos a toxic invasive species and announced plans combining sterilization, relocation, and, controversially, the possibility of culling. But every method is slow, every method is contested, and all the while, the one thing that never slows down is the hippos themselves. They keep breeding. Every year spent debating is another year of new calves in the Magdalena. Scientists who study the herd give a blunt warning. There is a window, and it is closing. While the population is in the low hundreds, control is still difficult but possible. If it is allowed to reach the thousands, it may become permanent. A self-sustaining wild hippo population thriving on a continent where hippos never belonged, forever. Pablo Escobar has been dead for over 30 years. His cartel is gone. His mansion is a crumbling tourist site. His name a byword for a vanished era of crime. But the 4 animals he brought in as decoration have outlasted all of it, and they are still multiplying in the rivers of Colombia right now. The largest invasive animal on Earth was an afterthought. If you love this story and want to follow the next video, like and follow this channel for new videos every week. Thank you.